I don't know, it's just,
We ought to do this asphalt all the roads.
Sunday, when my 4 kids and spouses and 8 grandkids were out there for Easter dinner, and by my house, there had to be, and this is real close, right around 100 vehicles went by. And people just, and there's hills there.
And they're going like that.
Yes, so just concerned.
Well, what we can do is lower the speed limit.
That would be wonderful. This morning I had Lynn Co-op come out to spread my urea on my bean stubble for corn. 6 o'clock, they were there. Yes, you think that's off early, but it was 6 o'clock. And the guy had to stop once on the road because to get traffic through, and he had to wait for 3 cars. So.
Well, what we did, when the bridge was out at Blairstown, that detour went to the east to get over the blacktop and then back. We lowered the speed limit on the gravel.
And you know, I'm not complaining about local people. No, I'm not. But 80% of them are not local people.
You don't have 100 local people go by.
And then when you get a van trailer on there and the guy cannot speak English, I'm just saying, I probably shouldn't have said that, but you even see them on there.
Yeah. Well, there's been people a mile east of 218 take that dirt road there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of them don't know that when it's muddy, you can't take it.
Well,
They had 2 records out there.
Shall we get at her?
Yeah.
We stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance to start with.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
901, Barb.
I'd like to set a land use hearing for Amana Farms Incorporated for May 17th at 9:15.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You guys looked at the minutes?
Yeah.
Didn't see anything. Yeah.
Motion.
Second. All right, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. That's the recorder's quarterly report. If you guys look at it.
thank you.
I make a motion that we approve the
Second.
recorder's quarterly report.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I guess nothing for probably about 12, 13 minutes. So,
We can talk about some of the budget amendment stuff.
okay.
So for sure, we have to amend for the W&A, which Tracy and I were aware of too. So I'm putting in an additional $715,000 for spending authority for this fiscal year. Remember Jennifer explained to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for sure I have to put in that much more
Just for them?
for the watershed. Yeah.
And I can't really miss that meeting on Thursday, can I?
It's a good meeting, isn't it? Her and I, we've been doing detailed, all kinds of stuff. So it sounds like you might have overbid another project outside of the original amount. So she's gonna have to ask for an amendment at the grant side too.
How much is it?
$715,000.
What are they gonna do if they don't have?
I don't know, but that's what we pay ECOG to be our grant administrator, so. Yeah. I was not very happy when I saw that one. So that one for sure. Maintenance has to put an additional 500 in their water line item because there was additional cooler requests here at the service center. The water coolers, individual ones. So he asked for that. Ron is gonna come in here.
How much was that last one?
$500.
Oh, $500.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna ask for some in my auditor election one. We have to do a bunch of mailings because of the precincts and other things. And then I'm sending 2 of them to a training that's offered in person. So, let's see. Mine is like 10,000, 11,500 total between the difference. The district court line item, I'm adding some into that one. That was one of those I highlighted in your packet last time. I'm just going over the non-departmental ones for you. I was gonna ask on that, we're not paying the fair board this period or the next?
Or bleachers,
Mhm.
that'll come out this year yet.
That's what I thought.
And then I just made sure we had enough in there for the parking lot, which I got noticed yesterday, they wanted to accept form, so they're gonna get started.
Just met with them yesterday.
So some of those are those non-departmental ones I put in. And then what Ron goes over all his. And then I put in for the GO bond that we cashed in and put that expenditure back in, which we didn't have before, so. So in those different service areas as well. And that was already published, so I just
Right.
wanted to talk to you guys on them all.
Okay, I haven't heard, it's been a week, they were supposed to let us know last Monday, and now it's been a week, my fault, I haven't. About that land acquiring to put that tower on, I'm hoping that'll come out of our funds.
It's part of the civil portion.
Yeah.
I believe that part.
So we don't have to add that.
No,
On the
because we already
back.
have this thing put in. The only thing I could do is amend within different service areas if I need to.
Okay. I'm hoping that we can run that through ARPA.
Any word on the tower down in Norway?
No.
How long do you think that'll be before they?
They said if we know something by May, end of May, they don't know what their, SHPO is gonna do, whether they're gonna contact the mayor and the council, or if the SHPO will actually send everybody flyers in the city of Norway to respond to see,
Will they do that for us?
yeah. So I don't know how that's gonna,
That insurance guy is going to the tower sites too.
I give him, he took a picture of the map out there at Secondary Road yesterday.
Okay.
So evidently he's staying in
Yeah, he stayed over.
Lawyer or Duval. Sitting here,
Yep. He said it was gonna be 2 days worth.
okay,
2 days with the sites?
Pretty much, yeah.
we gotta hit all the county sheds.
Oh,
I met him here yesterday, and then took him out to the dog pound, then took him to Secondary Road. And then he was going out to conservation.
And then did he order the maintainer sheds too already?
I don't know if he was gonna do that.
I wanted to make sure they were unlocked for him.
Yeah. He didn't know if he was gonna do that yesterday afternoon, because I said hopefully, the conservation would take him around all the properties.
so how do we go to the maintainer sheds?
Because we have insurance on them.
Oh,
He takes pictures of the outside of the buildings and then looks on the
Because we're
inside.
just, it's an audit, basically, to make sure we have enough coverage on all our structures.
so all the sheds back together?
I believe so. Yeah. I don't know about the doors or anything out here, if they've been fixed. I don't know, I did not drive around. It was a little breezy yesterday.
It's really crazy. So, next Tuesday, we're still gonna have our ARPA committee meeting too after.
That's the other thing I was gonna ask you, next Tuesday.
Yep, and then I'm gonna put on the agenda for, because my reporting is due April 30th. And I believe we have to do a resolution allocating that money, stating that we're claiming it all as revenue loss.
Okay. What time's the ARPA deal?
I thought maybe one, you
Okay.
do it sooner,
I don't,
and it depends on the agenda.
yeah, how big you, well, whatever.
Okay.
This is my second home up here anyway.
Get your pillow and a sleeping bag.
Rapidly competing with the first home.
Yeah.
You're still figuring on doing that building down Hannah Lake, eh?
I haven't touched the blueprints for 2 weeks now, I've been up here working on them. They're down here.
I think you're gonna have to move that building to the north or something, because the grounding level where the old building is sitting.
Going over up where the swimming pool is.
Yeah, but aren't you gonna take out the restrooms?
Here we are, but the building's gonna be way north,
Oh,
way to the north.
so you're not gonna use the same well?
Rural water.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yep. Yep. Be a new septic tank and all that, which we'd have to get together with Mark on that deal. And figure out how big it's gotta be, and how many gallons. So, we haven't got that far, that's it's in the book, but it's in the back. All right, that about it?
I think so.
Yeah.
What I can make up for myself.
We got 5 minutes here, you wanna discuss with him what you're up here for?
This gentleman?
Yes.
Oh, I sure think we should.
All right.
That way he's not sitting here.
Can I talk a little bit?
Yes, you can.
Can I stand right up in the middle here?
Yep.
Thank you. That way I can hear better.
Sure.
No, you heard me talking to Gary a little bit before this all took, the meeting started. I live at 1057 72nd Street Drive. I also farm what we call the main farm right along Highway 30, which is at 1046 72nd Street, right along Highway 30. I have to travel around to get to the other farm. Yes, we knew this was all coming. No problems. I'm not complaining about that. And during calving season now, you get to go back and forth a lot. I also work at Remington Seed in Belle Plaine for 39 years. I'm not there now because I decided to slip and tear all my tendons in my knee and I'm still recuperating. So that's the only reason I'm out here. But I go back. But anyhow, we're a quarter mile off Highway 21. And the traffic comes down 21. They're supposed to take the Keystone Blacktop for the detour. They come down 21. Excuse me, there's one sign right by the detour of Block 8 on the shoulder that said for local traffic only. When I came up here this morning, guess what? It's flat on the ground. So that's okay. But everybody comes all the way up to 72nd Street and they have it barricaded right before you hit 2130 Junction. And people back up and then zip right up. Now, where I live at, north of 30, right east of me, there's two nice hills. Now, when I pull out of my driveway, I can't mess around. If there's somebody coming pretty good clip, I just can't. And with farm equipment, it's a little harder to do. But then I gotta head east, go over 2 hills. The second hill, that's where Tanner Schwab and his wife live at. That's the bad one. You pop over that hill and you meet too many people, and people, you got 3 tracks. Randy Sherwood did a wonderful job out there, putting gravel down, everything else. But you got 3 tracks. Here they are traveling their 2 tracks, and you're pretty well screwed. And if you're going east, that's where the maintainer piled the gravel. There's so many people hitting that because they're going too fast. You go over that hill by Tanner Schwab's there, then we got dirt roads. Fine, I can live with that. I got a farm right along there on the east side of Bear 80. Maintainer man, I forget his name, Grant, he maintained it. He spent a lot of time. I know it's hard to keep people off of it, but there was numerous people stuck in there. Okay, so that's fine. Then you go up 1046 72nd Street up to, I got it written down here, 11th Avenue Drive. That takes you out to Highway 30. And then people cross Highway 30, go south, and then you guys probably don't know where the little town of Irving's at.
Oh, yeah.
They cut right back down and go right on the north end of Irving. I know we can't cut local traffic down. That's fine. But like I said, there's too many people that shouldn't be on there traveling way too fast. And I'm not stretching it, guys. If I wanted to already, I probably could have been in 4 accidents. I'm not stretching it. I travel 30 miles an hour on the gravel roads because I'm really not in a hurry to, go anywhere. This fall, you know how fall is. I'm looking ahead this fall when the air gets heavier and then at night that dust doesn't want to move. It'll just set. That's going to be another problem. The interesting one, if we get this much traffic, is the snow next winter. I know we just got done with everything now, but you got to look ahead. So my main concern is we got to slow people down and keep the people off of that don't belong on it. I mean, there's detours set up. Take your detour. So that's all I'm kind of here for.
Okay. I guess we can run it by Myron.
We could ask about, speed limits. Of course, it's 55 in the daytime, 50 at night. And you can make it 10 miles an hour, but if it's not enforced, doesn't matter. So, can you hear any of that? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear all that.
Okay. So we have to also visit with the sheriff
Right.
to try to get some additional law enforcement there. But the sign you already indicated, the knockdown, local traffic only. I mean, you could put those up every quarter mile.
I think what happened there was a wind from yesterday. I really do think that's what happened. But and yes, I know this is not your responsibility on 21. That's the DOT's responsibility. And I will call Tony Gustafson. He's the head in Ames, and I've talked to him before. But we need more signs on 21. And I know that's the DOT's fault, But as far as the gravel roads, and yes, when you were talking about local law enforcement, I kind of smiled because this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Before this all took place, this construction, they shut her down. Out by 2130 Junction, I've seen the Belle Plaine Police Department out there a lot. And through Irving. So I already talked to them about it. I said, I'm not being a smart, but I said, I see you guys out here. I said, just, why don't you drive up a quarter mile and watch? And they just kind of laughed, so.
Yeah, I don't.
But, no, the speed limit, if you guys could put the speed limit down, that would be great.
When we have the speed limit there east of Orstown.
35.
That's what I thought it was, 35.
Because I know when you go into Belle Plaine, what I call the golf course road, where that oil, constant oil is all the time, that's 45 in there. But guys, right there too, I also noticed, they don't ever maintain that. They keep it solid oil because I suppose because of the houses. I don't know. But boy, there's some big potholes in there, and I've seen people hit those at 45 miles an hour and kind of hold on.
We could also oil some of those roads if it helped.
Oh,
Certainly.
may I interrupt you on that, Gary? If I understand this right, I will oil my road every year, and I get three times of it, because my wife doesn't like dust, so I get it 3 times. But if I understand from the DOT, they're gonna oil some of these roads. I could find that out when I call Tony, but if I could be mistaken, but I think he said we're going to, the DOT's gonna oil some of these with that tree sap or whatever. But I'm still doing my 400 feet in front of my house.
Okay.
But
We'll talk, Myron's gonna be on at 11 o'clock today, so I know you don't wanna stick around here.
yeah, I don't wanna stick around.
So let us talk to Myron.
Yeah,
One thing, we can't act on it today because it's not on the agenda,
yeah,
but we can start the process with him
yeah,
that we can have a resolution adopted by next Tuesday maybe.
that's fine,
And then,
that's fine.
and then after the resolution, then they'll have to put signs up.
See, I'm still at home, that's the reason I came up
Okay.
today, because
Okay.
next week, well, maybe plant seed corn or
Maybe.
commercial corn or
I'm not
whatever.
sure it's quite that easy. I think there's more involved, but Myron and Dave will answer
Yeah,
that, as far as speed limits,
You can do it
etc.
February sometimes.
yeah.
But there's so many people, I mean, it's scary. And I'm good at what I do on the roads, because I've lived out there all my life, farmed out there all my life. But when you see some of these people come, a lot of times you just stop. You just stop and wait, because you don't know what they're gonna do. And I have to go put waterways in this afternoon for my neighbor with a 450 deer, which is a 15-foot drill. I said my prayers this morning. Because what do? I mean, I'll take up my half a road, but is that other driver gonna take up his half? And I got small equipment, but what about the bigger guys?
Okay,
So that's all I have to say.
all right.
Appreciate you coming in.
Well, thank you for listening to me.
See what we can do.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Good morning, Kirsten.
Good morning.
I was supposed to be handing out an application for a change in land use to you from Richard and Marcia Morial. The Morials have decided to withdraw their request for a change in land use. They were gonna be out here in Harrison Township, section 27, just after the curve on the north side of the road. And they've sold their property otherwise, so they contacted us Friday and told us that the deal was consummated and they wanted to withdraw. So I just wanted you to see that we did get it. I'm getting an official copy in the mail, but I wanted you to see a copy of it. They signed it, so there is no need for a land use hearing on that today.
Thank you. One of the easiest things we've done in a while.
Pardon me?
That's one of the easiest things we've done in a while.
Yes, it has. After we had everything all ready to go.
It works in this-
Kristen,
Alrighty, So, as you all were aware, we were working on an MOU with the union. So I have it signed by the union business agent. So this MOU, I only made one copy. I'm trying to save some trees here. Basically what this MOU is going to do is it's going to allow the new members of the secondary road department who were basically hired in 2021, when most of them were hired later in 2021 and then one in 2022 here, to carry over 40 hours of comp time. They won't get vacation for 1 year. This will afford them a little bit of time after our MOU takes place July 1st, where they will no longer be guaranteed certain amounts of comp time. So this was a work in progress, but it's made to help the new employees, and I'll let you just read it. I think that might have been a copy Tracy had.
I think that's the original. The other's a copy. Have you read it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's your copy.
Any questions? You need a motion?
Yeah, we'll need a motion for that, obviously. You done reading it?
Yeah, I'm done.
Sorry, Tracy helped.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tracy helped, some of the people had called him and had some concerns, and we worked
Sure.
together, so he's seen it. So,
Very good. Well, I'll make the motion that we approve the union memorandum of understanding. Is that correct?
Yep.
Regarding their comp time carryover.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And authorize Tracy to sign it.
yes. And then Myron will sign it, when he comes later. I can talk to him, and then I'll send you a copy. Okay. Happy birthday. His birthday. You should have brought us some cookies.
I know, I just found out this morning that it was for Alicia's son's birthday, so that's why she knew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. Oh, back on schedule.
Ahead of schedule.
What was that gentleman's name I didn't catch?
He didn't give it.
You know? Oh, I can look at his address, I just wasn't sure if he said anyway.
I was gonna say something, I forgot.
I'll pull it up. They look familiar, but I'll look it up on real estate here. He gave us the address.
You should know that. Going in.
I noticed that last week coming back from Ames, that they're really working around there. Certain.
It's kind of funny, they got all them roads closed. Straight north of us is their road. It's open. It's fine with me. But all the other ones, they're putting a bunch of dirt in. I don't know how they're gonna handle like Luzerne Corner.
Oh.
Cause the road is lower
You know,
by about, at least this
Yeah,
far.
well, okay.
Francis.
I think they're gonna,
I have to hold up. I just searched by address.
I think they're gonna, go back on the Luzerne Road. I think,
I used to sell purebred Durocs.
Really?
Dan did, yeah. Goes it.
I could show you guys too what I'm working on with Deke and Schneider to put on our, I'll show you this. I told you how I wanted the pie chart to show for taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool. I gotta pull it up. Show you the example that I'm working with now. when people pull up their Parsons and Beacon, we're gonna do something like that.
Mhm.
Pie chart to show them what portion of their taxes go to the school, et cetera, the county.
It could
Local,
be on the tax.
not on the statement,
Oh, really?
on the Beacon Schneider.
It's too bad it's not on the state.
I know, I don't know how to integrate that, because that would be Tyler Technology software that would have to do that. This is through Schneider that does our real estate stuff.
That would be worth an extra page.
On the tax
On the
statement.
tax statement, you bet
Well,
it would
this
be.
way also I showed my girls, because we're gonna get lots of calls. You can pull it up in Beacon, talk through it with them if
There's
they
so
want you
many
to print it
people
out.
that are not computer savvy.
Right.
You know,
I mean, it shows the breakdown anyway on your statement,
I know,
but not visual. So, we did mention that, and Thursday, I have Courtney and Alicia going to Ames to do Tyler Technology stuff. So, I'm gonna have them bring that up again,
maybe it's fast.
because it would have to be something ran in the software, because that's where we run our statements from.
Like they say, one picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yep. So, which they haven't had those in-person ones. We call them IQ. I think the assessor's there today, treasurer's tomorrow, auditors are Thursday. It's kind of where you sit down with the software people that develop the programs and hash out things.
We have some of our meetings that are both in person and Zoom. I like that because there's times when you just, I don't care if it's a 45-minute drive, it's just, wow, how do I squeeze that in today? You know? Well, sure, it's 9:30.
Yes,
So, I've still heard no comments from the public or anything. I don't know if you guys got any calls or anything on that ordinance.
no,
Nope.
Norway was happy when I was down there, so.
And also too, today I thought, in our ordinance, we mentioned Belle Plaine, Benton, and Walford having their individual precincts. So I thought maybe once you approve our ordinance, we could acknowledge the three of theirs.
Okay.
And that way it's in our record too.
Do you need a motion to approve the second reading?
Yep, and then I'll need a motion to approve the resolution adopting the ordinance
Separately or together?
separately.
Okay. Well, then I'll make the motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now I'll make the motion to approve adopting the ordinance, correct?
Yep, ordinance number 77.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we gotta waive the third reading then?
And make the motion to waive the third reading.
Do we have to do both of them?
We already did the first one last week.
We waive the third reading?
Mm-hmm. That's what he's doing right now.
We had the first reading last week that we just.
We're
did
just
the
trying to
second.
speed it up with the primary election. I gotta get moving.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And make the motion to acknowledge Benton, Belle Plaine, and Walford precinct.
Those ordinances. If you guys wanna look at these, I have 4 copies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That covered it, didn't
Thank you.
it? Good.
And we have to mail out postcards to each household because the precincts were different than they were the last primary because of COVID. Remember how we had to combine and do all that? And then we have to mail out people's notices that if their precinct was affected. So it's not planning on all that extra postage. So I'm hoping what I put in the paper is enough. Otherwise, I might have to amend service areas. And you guys have some cushion in your budget. I might move from yours to mine.
The postage, yeah.
Yep, I'll adjust that later on if we have to, but
I suppose we could buy a few stamps.
I just have to move it from your service area into mine. Because elections is different than my auditor's office, there's 2 different service areas. But yeah, but now that If we can get our ballots ordered now.
She's back on.
So, we've been on hold in limbo because we couldn't order our ballots.
What you did?
Well, we knew better, we have to get the final okay from the state because there's still withdrawal deadlines. Withdrawal too.
So probably do that.
Well, good, yeah. Last week too.
That was last week?
Well, there's different deadlines that we have to be open late for and this and that. Scott.
He's not following me.
Oh, yeah, I was. Try not to be. And I think for your, what was it that was dropped off the agenda, and I put it on back on for all the other future agendas for your committee reports. I think that line item just got deleted somewhere along the line, because we copy and paste. So
Sure.
from now on, I went back through all the rest of the years and put it on there.
So they have them, huh?
It's
Good.
good,
Sorry, I don't have any reports anyway.
but, yeah. You noticed it.
We'll have one.
Yeah, mine started again. They bunch up.
You have a Heartland one, don't you, this week?
This week. Who's it next?
That was this week,
I
because
don't know. I'm lost without my
another
calendar.
auditor asked me if I was, because she's gonna stop at Tame on her way back from Tame's. Or maybe she has a separate meeting or
No,
something.
I don't have anything this week.
She's checking out.
Again, for your information, I met with the contractor for the parking lot. He wants to start this week, pretty scared of the weather.
Yeah.
So I says, you know, if you wanna start bringing your equipment in here, you know, you can. So when you start seeing things parked out here that usually isn't parked there, that's what it is. Now, the only thing that I gonna have somewhat of inconvenience, I talked to Dean last night that we're gonna park some of the vehicles over here on this side of the building, because I'm trying to talk him into doing in stages. I understand, and he knows where we're coming from too. I'll come back. And we'll,
Hey, you guys can finish, I will be in.
alright, well,
I'm not the parking
anyway, I'm
lot.
trying to talk him into doing it stages, you know, but you got a lot of the state vehicles over here that don't get moved all the time. Over here, yeah, over behind the garden shed or whatever, that's out of the way. As the employees, I was thinking they could park on the street, but I noticed this whole side of the street, on this side, has got no parking.
That was because of the school.
Oh, really?
Well, school was closed still, but I'm sure it was an ordinance that would have to be changed by the city.
You can't just take the signs down.
We'll leave that to you, Gary. Just go ahead and take those signs down.
Gary's coming up with his paint to go over those white, or excuse me, those yellow markers out there.
The parking.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's just on one side. But they can park on the east side.
They can, okay.
Yes, I believe it's just the west side they can't.
Well, maybe that'd be a question that I can have for city administrator.
For another meeting.
Did you already know that?
Well, I've seen him and he suggested I did not need to go because they all know what I want. But I haven't got an answer back. But he also, whatever I talked to Myron about it, that they want us to help pay for the road.
That's good, that goes out to
Speaking of parking lot, while you guys are on that, so I do not forget. So I've already talked to Haley about this. So there was, whatever, the 61,250 from fund balance that was gonna go towards the parking lot. DHS is gonna pay their percentage. there's a building and maintenance line item in Lindsay's, so that 3,000 is also gonna go towards the parking lot, so that will decrease, but also has to pay.
Sweet.
I don't know if you guys need to make a motion, or if it's just an FYI for you guys.
I think when we go to pay that claim, we'll write all those different line items down of where we're taking it out of.
I knew you and I talked about that, I just didn't know
So
if
they
you guys
can
just
probably
needed
address
it.
it at that time too, or.
Yes, that has to be done by June 30th, since it's a fund balance project. So, and he shouldn't have any issue with that, right?
He wants to start this week already,
Sweet.
weather permitting, but.
So, but I figured you guys would appreciate that that's an additional 3,000 that the county does.
Thanks, your tongue.
So,
What did she say?
might snow.
You want to bite his tongue.
You're no longer allowed to speak. Whoever says no, your speaking privileges are been revoked.
Spring awful late this year.
All right, what do you girls got?
Well, good morning. So, always good to make a trip and come down and see you all. This morning, we want to talk a little bit about the Access Hub and just future direction, those types of things. So, a lot of things going on, of course. You know, fund balance projects are ending at the end of this year. You have always supported the Access Hub via fund balance project. So now, and Lindsay prepared a proposal for me probably 3 months ago. We blended that into the region's operational budget, so the region will support the cost of the Access Hub. You also know that Lindsay is leaving us, going to part-time for a while, and then, what is the date we settled on? In June?
Yeah. Okay, I don't know that we figured.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometime in the next few months, Lindsay will be leaving us. So, in addition to that, you know that it was the fall of 2019 when we opened the Access Hub, that at that time there was a lack of structure. There were some like, hey, it could be this, right? Like, here are some good ideas. And that's what we do when we develop new things, right? We throw a bunch of ideas at the wall and we see what sticks. And throughout these last it'll be 3 years this fall, right? So the last 2.5 years, we've done different things, we've tried different things. You'll remember that I believe it was late last summer that Mona and I came and we had some policies and procedures for the Access Hub, and you approved them because we really wanted to provide that structure. And I think that I have found in the 2.5 years that it's been open that some of those initial grand ideas, hey, it could be this, with reality, haven't always been in alignment with one another. And that's why we did the policies and procedures last year. But I'm finding that I think that community perception has been hurt a little. And I don't know if you guys feel this too, like, well, we thought it was gonna be this. And people are kind of hanging on to that. Like, well, we were told it was going to be this. And, you know, I've heard that from some of the local law enforcement, that they were like, well, we were under the understanding that we could just drop people and go. And, well, that's not necessarily the case. You know, we still need to make sure that people are kept safe and that they need to have proper supervision when it's necessary. That in some cases, people can be diverted here, but not necessarily a drop and go, like maybe our access hubs are, because they have crisis stabilization residential beds. Access centers, because they have crisis stabilization residential beds. So, that's a lot, right? What the conversation that we would like to have with you today is, I want you guys to guide this, right? As the region, we're committed. Well, I want you to guide it as far as philosophy, right? I mean, like, as the region, we're committed to it. We've put it in the budget for next year. I know with Lindsay leaving and just some things that I've been hearing in the community from some of the stakeholders, that some people have said, well, we should just close it and do something different. And I don't feel that way, but I don't want to move forward without you guys, right? And I need you to be like, we are committed to it. You know, we're going to support the Access Hub, and then talk about, okay, so what does that support look like? Not necessarily from you, but like together as a county in the region. How do we work together to support it? If unless you guys sit here and say, nope, let's close it. That's the direction I want from you. You know, do you want to keep it open? Do Do you want to have it open the same number of hours? Do you want to expand the hours? So just that discussion this morning.
Seeing some confused looks on you guys' faces when she said certain things. And so,
tell me what your questions about, first of all.
How much is it actually being used?
Great question.
Want me to kind of go through it? Okay. So, we started in 2019. It's hard to kind of compare year to year because there hasn't been a normal year. And I came back in August. So these numbers are starting from August. So new people this year that we've served, 45 people. That goes to the end of March. We always slow down, and
That's from January 1,
No,
that's from August 1.
August 1.
Yeah.
So it's basically 6 months.
Yeah.
45 new people.
New
That's not
people.
total contacts, that's just,
So 45 new people have called, walked in, been referred, whatever it may be, to the Access Hub, okay? That's still March. So, but like in April, I'm almost at 10 for just this month. So it slows in the wintertime. I anticipated it would be slow when I came back. Nobody had been there from June to July, you know, so you had some ground to pick up with, okay? So with those 45 new people, additional contacts made after that, that's phone calls, follow-ups, referrals, paperwork, whatever it may be, care coordination, an additional 52 contacts after that. I didn't start tracking that until September. We don't have a database that we use for the Access Hub. It's Excel. And as it's a newer program, things like that, how do you best encompass the work you're doing? So that kind of idea with having some conversations with Mona, like, how do I show that? Then I sat and made how many, you know, an hour worth of phone calls for this, but it's not, you know, where can I show that work? So that's when I started counting these contacts, okay? So 52 additional contacts, that's till the end of March. Referral sources, Sheriff's Office, Foundation 2, phone calls, people just either seeing a flyer, or maybe somebody out in the community telling them, hey, call the Access Hub. Referrals from the clerk of court, we have referrals from Department of Corrections, some walk-ins still, and then some Unity Point clinics, okay? So that's the people that have come in. Outreach that I've done to kind of either build up some referrals or just let folks know that we're here, have conversations about where are your gaps, where can I fit in within those gaps that you have. We've worked with the Riverview Center, HACAP, DHS, had a lot of conversations with ASAC, like I said, the Unity Point clinics, discussions with the Lynn County Access Center on how we can kind of fast pass to the Lynn County Access Center if need be. And we have taken some folks from here to there. AEA, that's the Area Educational Association, and then with Plugged In Iowa, which does peer support. They're here every Wednesday, so we do a lot of collaboration back and forth as well. So that's kind of what has been done, the outreach that has been done since I've come back in August. You want me to talk about some ideas moving forward? Or
Do we need
What
a
do you-
full-time person?
Great question.
Well, you've got 40, in this 6 months, 45 new people, 52 additional
contacts?
contacts that you've done. Month of April, I mean, here it is the 19th, and she's already had 10 new contacts.
and then that's not any follow-ups, it's just new people.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it almost seems apparent that we need a full-time person.
The problem with having a part-time person is crisis doesn't happen on a part-time basis. So then you walk a thin line if somebody needs you and you're not here. And frankly, with having one person in there, that sometimes happens. You know, I am home with a sick kid, or I'm at the jail and somebody walks in. You know, those things can happen. And we just, you know, we work around it, we figure things out. Mona and I somebody always tries to be here, whatever, but, you know, I've had conversations with like the Lynn County Access Center. What do you do when it's slow? What do you have your staff do when it's slower? And, you know, I mean, that's where then I fill these gaps of being involved in some of these extra community activities, DCAT, stepping up. There's a couple coalitions around substance abuse, and mental health, like, so I, you know, being on those groups and fill some of that dead time also then allows you to be a part of those conversations and let people know that you're here. So,
This would be kind of the doing it full time. I think that's where the going forward, what new things are coming that would potentially add people to that as well.
you know, you have Abbey Center moving into this building, which will increase foot traffic. Our walk-in clientele decreased a lot during COVID. Obviously, the doors were locked, we weren't really open for walk-ins. But it hasn't picked back up, and I'm used to say what will change, how that will change, if it will change. But the Abbey Center coming into the building will obviously increase the amount of people that literally walk by my door. And I think there's conversations to then be had with the Abbey Center of how do we work together to serve these needs. You know, they're facing issues of having a long time in between people getting into appointments. Is there a way we can fill that gap? We can assist with filling that gap by just some informal contacts with individuals. At the jail, there's something what they call a kite. An inmate in a cell can request to speak to somebody, whether it be that they just want to talk to somebody about having a bad day, or they need insurance when they get out. They know when they get out they're not going to have housing, they're not going to have a phone, things like that. Those in the past have gone to Foundation 2. There's been discussion a few times about then, does it make sense to have them go to Foundation 2, or does it make sense to have them go to the Access Hub? Since they're there in the jail, they're not necessarily in crisis, because they're there in the jail, stabilized, whatever, however you want to define it. So this, I think that moving forward, they're comfortable with having those go to the Access Hub, which will then increase your interactions with individuals that aren't necessarily, that don't qualify for illegal jail diversion or some other kind of treatment, community treatment. So there's that option as well. Would increase the number of folks that come into the Access Hub.
You know, in our FY23 budget, we had put in there, and it was approved by the Regional Governing Board, for the region to fund 50% of a jail social worker in our 3 largest jails. So, you know, a full-time person in the jail acting as social worker, getting people hooked up to services, those types of things, helping to de-escalate. What Lindsay just described is like exactly that, but it's use of a current position rather than adding a new one, right? Because we probably don't have that volume here that we have in the Iowa City jail. So, I think that's a really great thing, because that's a model that we're implementing in other counties.
What do you need from us? You said the region has made a commitment to support the Rural Access Hub. I presume that's a financial commitment. Okay. What do you need from us?
I think just partnership, right? For you guys to say, as the Benton County Supervisors, we're behind this. We want to keep it open. I have some other ideas besides the 2 that Lindsay has already talked about, but I don't want to do that without your blessing. You know, just if you guys say, like, we think this is a really good thing and we want to have this resource in the community, then as a region, then we'll support that.
Well, I think it's been a very good thing. You know, I don't have people that I know that have gone through the program, but the sheriff has, you know, been a very strong advocate of this, and, you know, real believer in it. And yeah, I'm sure there's some things that we thought that, you know, a deputy would just come in, drop them off and leave. At least I did. Yeah, I'm sure.
That was the original idea, and that was originally how it was sold, I think, to everyone. And it has changed, it has morphed, it has.
And things do. As you get into things and the actual workings of, I get it. I do. I don't know that I've been real comfortable with them just bringing somebody in that's freaking out and just saying, here, Lindsay, here you go.
Maybe that's in your favor.
Yeah. See you later.
That usually works out.
Good. So, yeah, I personally think that it's very good. You know, I really do. And even though the deputy may be tied up for a period of time. I don't think they're tied up as long as they have been in years past.
The other thing is transportation.
Well,
They can bring them up here when they're coming back up here anyway versus taking them someplace.
You know, we've worked out some of those kinks with allowing, you know, to get folks at least to the Lynn County Access Center from here with regional support. So those are things we didn't necessarily have before that we have now. The volume's just kind of decreased, but I can say it's gone up in the last couple months. So, you know, it's hard to, you can't have a crystal ball all the time, so.
yeah, well, you know, you have to have 50 crises in order to qualify. You're
I
right.
think when with COVID kind of winding down, that helps people have a little bit more of a comfort level.
Well, COVID, like she said, doors were locked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the only way they're gonna get in is with the deputy. You know, they
Yep.
couldn't do the foot traffic. And we've got, the Abbey Center here. I can see that, and with them coming in, I thought, this is a good thing,
Right.
you know, but, because we've already got the access hub and the Abbey Center.
Do you think that foot traffic will go up and then come back down again after COVID's kind of gone a while? Or will it just,
I think, first of all, we can't predict crises. If we could, this would be a different world. It seems to me that we need a little momentum, right? We need, some consistency, and we need to have those partnerships with law enforcement and with Abbey Health. And once those relationships are built and people know that it's a resource, that we'll probably see it go up and then steady off rather than go back down, is what I would predict. I could be wrong. One of the things with your blessing to move forward with the Access Hub that I was talking with Lindsay and Mona about is some really targeted outreach. So I think there was a perception in 2019, it's gonna be like this. And then we were like, okay, wait a minute, for the safety of everybody, and we've changed things a little bit, and we wrote the policies and procedures last year, that maybe we need to just do some outreach about that. And I said to Lindsay, I know she's delivered flyers and she's gone to places and she's built those relationships, but I said, we're social workers and marketing is not our specialty. So, we have, as a region, we have an ongoing relationship with DeNovo, a marketing company in Cedar Rapids, and maybe we engage DeNovo here to do some targeted marketing in the community. Like people at Virginia Gay, so that they know what's available and who, the when, under what circumstances it would be good to refer people. And, through Iowa State Extension, that they can get the word out to with people who are involved in the rural economy, around town, the schools, well, not necessarily, the schools for teachers, I mean, we can't serve children, but schools for teachers need help too. So, that was one of my ideas, and maybe we need to just do a little bit more targeted outreach. It's important for Lindsay and the person that would replace her to build those relationships and go to those meetings and for people to see the face. But we could couple that with, some additional outreach about the Access Hub.
how many people are you getting from the outside edges of the county, like Walford, Belle Plaine?
Unity Point Clinic in Belle Plaine, I've have a good relationship with them. So they've sent quite a few folks, or they just call asking questions. I don't have it in front of me.
If I lived in Walford and I needed help, I'd go to Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
It's closer than it is to come up here.
And I've met with individuals, mostly it's always been Belle Plaine, I guess. I've met with them at the library there, in a neutral space. If, cases I did, they didn't want to be in their home meeting with me. Urbana, I've had a couple folks from Urbana, but.
Even Belle Plaine, you're going down Highway 30. It's just as far up here as it is to go down Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
Gary, I think that's a good point though too. When we talk about our access centers and our access hubs in the region being that wheel with spokes, right? and our access centers are the center, and then we have spokes out to the access hubs. That if somebody initiates care at the access center, if they go to, if they live in Walford and they go to Cedar Rapids to the access center, that we have this network and we have this relationship that maybe some follow-up, checking in can be referred back. Lindsay talked about how she has referred and she has facilitated getting some people from here to the access center. And that can go both directions too, and they can refer back. And it's that relationship that we need to have between the access hubs and the access centers.
And one of the things that Lindsay and I think it was either last week or the week before, so with Unity Point and Beltane, I think we had a gentleman that wasn't actively suicidal, but maybe making like suicidal remarks. So she couldn't, it would be 40 minutes before she could get down there. We talked about like setting up telehealth. We're setting up some kind of a something so that way she could video chat there at the clinic. So that way she could have immediate, kind of de-escalation session with the person then and there. So if she couldn't get down there fast enough, okay, is it immediate danger? What do we need to do here? Is this something that needs to, or is it, okay, we'll de-escalate and then either they can come here or I can go down there. But so setting up something so that it could be kind of an instantaneous. And I know she was going to talk to the clinic about doing something like that if possible, so.
We're kind of on the outside edge of the region. So like Iowa County, Tama County, Blackhawk County, are we getting any referrals?
Well, mostly individuals that are in the jail that are from other counties. And we've talked about proposing to these other regions about some reimbursement for what services could be done with those individuals. The hard thing about Tama County folks, well, any of them really, you don't know necessarily when they're leaving and how long they're going to be staying there. But I have had I meet with them. They're not always my top priority because they're not Benton County. If they're Lynn County, it doesn't make a difference, or any other county within the region. But Benton County has been holding a lot of Tama County individuals recently. And sometimes they're like Marshall County residents. And so it's a little bit harder to do. But I've given folks just here's a printout of, resources in Tama County, or here's a printout of resources in Marshall County. This is who you need to get connected to. So I've done some of that kind of informal stuff with them. I don't think I've had anybody come drive over here though. No, I never have. From Tama or Blackhawk.
So do they have these resources in, like Marshall County?
No, I was trying to think. Marshall County, I'm not sure. Tama County is no. Blackhawk County, yes.
In South Iowa County?
Iowa County's with us.
Yeah,
Right?
and the Iowa County folks primarily go to Johnson County.
I think it's Jasper County.
Jasper County.
What county is
In Jones?
just outside of Beltane to the southwest?
Powashik.
Yeah.
Powashik does not have a crisis center. Powashik and Tama do not.
Well, the region, the mental health region, thinks this is an important, service. I don't know why we would even question it. If you need somebody to step up and say, I support you,
So,
you got it,
yeah, Rick, I appreciate that. I just don't ever want to operate in a vacuum, right? I want to make sure that we've had the discussion with you guys, you're in support. I don't want to do something that you're against, or I don't want to go a direction that you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense for our community. You guys know your community more than I do, and so I need your input.
Well, if the sheriff wasn't in favor of this, it might be a horse of a different color, truthfully, but I don't think it's how many people you can take care of that are in crisis. The whole goal there is to reduce that number, obviously.
Right.
And the fewer people in crisis, the better.
The one permission we do need is the hiring of a full-time person. I guess I need the blessing for that in order to be able to get that posted and start.
I thought we had already,
No, when we talked last week, when we decreased her hours. I let you guys know that I was gonna be bringing that today to let you guys know that whether or not we wanted to hire somebody
Sure.
full-time or part-time and kind of finalize that today, so that way we
Well,
can get,
this is a pass-through scenario.
Yeah.
Obviously, and
so if you guys are good, then I can get it posted and start that.
personally, I think you should get it posted and get it going. You know, the sooner the better.
Who would be in charge of the interviews and all that?
Me, and then I will talk, so I would want Lindsay in on it as well, and then, again, so, us two ladies.
Did you have a different opinion?
No.
Come on, sir. You're talking about becoming
He's worried about making more office space.
Because there is a second office in there already, she would go into Shelby's old office. Or he, whoever it is, they would just go into Shelby's old office. So. Or you could, build a separate office in the hallway. So I will talk to, Kirsten, yeah, do we need like some kind of gavel action?
Right, so we'll go forward with it.
Make a motion.
We don't have it on the
don't
agenda.
have it on the agenda.
It's just, you want the blessing to take
Yeah, so when the time comes that we pick somebody, then I would bring it and then get you guys' like final.
Because actually, if it's gonna be a region employee, would the board need to actually?
It will be a Benton County employee,
So we'll
just like,
just keep it as a
reimbursed by the
pattern,
region.
same as we were.
yeah, same as me, same as Lindsay. So when that is, so basically, you just need to go through Kirsten for posting all of that, or does that still go through you guys?
Well,
No.
you can go to her and talk to her, but we put it on the website and all that. You have to put it in the official newspaper.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know if that's
Just
her,
do all
that's
that.
you guys, I know we have to do that, I just didn't know which party now
No,
does
well, I
that.
think usually each department head kind of does their own, but it's still best if I talk to her. Make sure you're not missing out on any statements in your.
Yeah, I prefer, I've always just talked to you guys, and
Yeah.
you guys put it wherever.
Yeah, we can help you too. I have lots of examples.
Please. Well, and I have the posting and I have all that, I just don't have any idea how to post it or where. So, we'll deal with that. I gotta talk to Nancy later today.
This is good, in my opinion, that they've come forth to us and said, we think this is a viable, service that's being offered. And, they've come up with some ideas of how they can enhance that service, which is great, but, they're fully supporting it, not only, almost emotionally, because you are, very dedicated to your jobs, but, financially with the region. So, yeah, I think it would be foolish to say anything other than,
I think you
Especially,
can see we're behind you.
yeah.
Yeah, and then,
We're not
that's,
against
that's
you.
important to
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
yeah, to know that, and that we're all on the same page, and that, we'll do what we can here and try to increase the number of, not crises, right? We're decreasing crises, but increase the number of people who are accessing help so that they can prevent a crisis.
Well, then they're,
Because we know that's when crises happen, right? When people encounter situations that go beyond their ability to cope with them.
Right.
So if we can intervene and get support to people earlier so that they're not in crisis, then all the better.
Good.
really, it's sad that you're leaving now.
Tell me about it.
It's a sign that with COVID going away and all that, now's the time, I think, things are gonna pick up. If they ever will, now's.
today is more of a comforting feeling that you are, 110% behind this. You're not coming in and saying, yeah, this didn't work. Yeah. So I think this is a much better situation, obviously. So.
You didn't build those walls,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And You're up next.
All right, I'm Sandy Egan, and I live out on the river. And I am just trying to find out why we have fireworks approved until 11:30 at night when in most instances in the Iowa law, I mean, there's like New Year's Eve and there's the 4th of July, but otherwise it's 10 o'clock across the board. That's what it states, but these permits that you guys recently approved are until 11:30 at night, and hate to say it, but I'm old, all my neighbors are old, and we usually will watch the 9 o'clock news so we can get to bed before 10 o'clock, and it probably wouldn't be as loud if it wasn't on the river, but it goes up and down the river and it echoes. And so I guess I'm just would like there to be more restrictions on the times of the special permitting so that it's not going so late in the evening. Not only just for that, but for, you know, the pets and the people in the area with the PTSD. You know, if they want to go away while these fireworks are going on, then they can get home and get back to bed at a decent time. So
I think Chuck could address some of that to us earlier.
We addressed it before, and our last, we have 3 events a year, and our last event, April 5th, April 2nd, we had 24 shells built by members that were there, and we shot those 12 or 24 shells, and we're done at 9:05. So we have never shot at 11:30 at night. The permit is there because if you get a rainy night and you can't go out and shoot as soon as it's dark and you're waiting for the rain to quit or something to give us the window, we at least put a time of 11:30 on there so that, okay, people are going to be in bed and whatever, but we were done at 9:05 the other day. I don't know how many other fireworks are being shot up and down the river.
And that could be true too. That could be very well true.
We hear more.
I'm not saying it's you guys, I'm just, like, I call and complain when it's late, and whether it's.
We hear more over on that side of the river than our 3 times on.
On the south side of the river?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just hear it, and like, I call and complain, but then they usually they'll say, well, they have permits to do it, and then it's like, so, okay. So I guess, it's kind of like, I'm not against fireworks, I love fireworks, but it's just, some of them are, and they might not be yours, I don't know where they come from, but they're rattling our windows on our cabins. And it's like, it just seems like it's excessive, and I don't want any of those rights taken away from anybody, and I don't think anybody in the neighborhood does either. You know what, 4th of July comes and I live there year round, I'm packing my shit and I'm getting the hell out. Because, sorry to say it, but it's ridiculous. It not only goes on, a week before and a week after. I mean, we're late at night and then we're at 7 in the morning. Someone's letting Johnny come out and let off some firecrackers, and it's just, it's like I have to leave my home. So I don't want to stop it or anything. And like I said, you guys kind of are here because you get the permits, but there are probably other individuals doing it.
We only have 3 events, one at the first weekend of April, one at the end of May, and one in October. Other than that, I don't know how many permits you have. I'm assuming over at the cabins and up that area, there probably isn't anybody that's got a permit. I mean, they're just out there shooting. I mean, the state legalized fireworks during certain weeks of the year, so I mean, you're gonna have it going off.
Where are you guys actually, like, located? I'm on 28th Avenue, like 5910, like,
We're 28th Avenue Drive, so we would be east of you a mile and then north.
Okay, east and north, okay. I wasn't really even sure. I just knew that when I call in, they said, well, I have permits, and I didn't even know your name until we got,
No, we only have, 2 events in the spring, and the one in the fall, doesn't normally amount to anything anyway, but I don't know how many other permits you guys do. I mean, we've talked to all of our neighbors, and we're gonna document every time we hear fireworks, so we can say, okay, you know, here's how many times we've heard fireworks and it ain't us with a permit.
Right.
Cause ours are,
Yeah, it's not fair that you guys get the people call in and complain when it's not even you guys that are doing it. Because I called. I mean, I'll be the person, I call in just because it's like, okay, what is going on? Like, and I don't know if it's because these individuals know that you have your permit for that time, that they're moving out your permit, you know, like you're right, you know, I don't know what it is, but I mean, all we can do is like call and complain.
well, the one time we put down the wrong date on our permit. And so immediately, here's the cops to shut us down. Well, I'll bet you when there's other fireworks going off, there's no cop running out there to shut them down. But when we had a permit and we picked the wrong day on it, they came to inform us that, hey, you guys are wrong, so we shut it off, you know. And so, you know, I don't even know if they go looking when there's other people.
I don't think they do, because they told us, I mean, honestly, they said they have a permit and whatever, till whatever time, and I mean, they kind of just blow you off, and I get they have emergencies. It's not like I'm calling in a 911 situation, but it does get excessive sometimes, you know, and you expect it over the 4th. I mean, it's just, there's going to be a lot of like,
we don't even shoot around
we
here
don't
on
shoot
Fourth.
around 4th.
yeah, but I mean, you know what I'm saying, like, you have a lot of that going on, and we know it's going to happen, and instead of calling the police, like, all the time and trying to get them to, you know, we just going to leave the area at that time, but, you know, and if it's not these guys, I guess it would be nice if we call in and it's not these guys doing it, that they send somebody out to check. I don't know what we should do. I mean, maybe you guys have suggestions for both of us, probably.
Well, first of all, the time element is what I wanted to get clarified, and why, you know, Chuck had on his permit, you know, the 11:30 up to 11:30 at night was, you know, due to weather. He's here, no better person to tell you than him.
No, that's fine.
We typically, a 20-minute window would do what we need to do for testing. But if it's raining at 9 o'clock when it gets dark, and we sit around and wait, and by 11 o'clock it quits raining, so we can run out and shoot stuff rather than, you know, because that's what we're there for, is test and see what it does. And so if we make too narrow of a window and it's raining or something, we lost our opportunity, you know. And so we just put longer than normal. I mean, we know people want to go to bed and stuff, but we just put 11:30 just in case. I mean, we're done before 10 o'clock typically if we're that late, you know.
And does it have to be dark for you guys to do your test? I don't know, I'm just asking.
Yes.
Yeah. And then is it, so
We
you
have-
can see color, or what do you?
We have 1 hour. We used to
Start at noon.
start at noon and shoot whenever we wanted to shoot.
Right.
And because people didn't like noise all the time, there was a few of your neighbors down there that said, hey, if you tell me when you're going to be doing this, I'll just leave
Yeah.
during that time, and then I'll come back knowing you're done. So we said, okay, 1 hour during the day, we'll do boomers, and that's from 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, whatever time we put on the permit. And then when it gets dark, then we will do the color stuff, that we want to see the color and the tones and everything, you know, what they're doing. And, you know,
Okay.
we
Well,
don't
it's good to
do
know,
that.
and I can like let other people know in my area too, like, hey, they're doing the bangers from the early time on the days of, and they're doing the colors, and they'll try and do them, you know, I mean, I can relate.
Yeah,
It's just
soon as
hard,
it-
we don't have your number, we don't know, you know, we don't know each other, so this is kind of the only way to even discuss
But
it,
as
so.
soon as it gets dark, we do it so that we're not dragging it into people's bedtime. And unless the weather interferes, that would delay us and make it later. But, you know,
Okay.
our next
Good enough.
event will be Memorial Day weekend, which that's
Yeah,
kind
Yeah,
of a,
28th and 29th, I was
Yeah,
reviewing
that's kind of a
everything
party
last night.
weekend anyway, so we
Yeah.
figure people will stay up later and
Yeah.
it won't be so critical. But we still do our stuff early,
Right.
and we don't do that much. 24 shells is all
Well,
we
let's be
shot.
honest, it's beautiful when they go off and the reflection comes on the river. I mean, there's nothing better than that, but it's just, you know, so,
But no, we never are
Okay.
shooting at 11:30 at night, so.
yeah, only if the rain would come, so, okay,
Well, and then Memorial Day weekend, if it doesn't get dark until,
right, later, I get you, yeah. Sometimes that's a big deal too. Okay. Well, I mean, we've kind of discussed it, and I think, you know, it sounds like you guys are really trying to be as considerate as you can with everything, and so, and I have a little bit more information to share with the neighbors too, you know, like, a lot of them are handicapped and different things, so, I don't know. It was actually my husband that was gonna come, and he's like, well, if you could go, I want to take off work, and I'm like, okay, I'll go, so I'm just kind of here to, and I can kind of let everybody know,
And we do have veterans in our club.
Yeah.
So we.
you know, you get it, yeah, you get it, I know.
Yep.
And I know a lot of the people get their dogs marijuana and crap in the neighborhood. I have an old dog and I wish he would die, but he doesn't. He's not really my son's son. But he doesn't like it, but I just crank the radio up there in the garage and like, you know, move the cars out, because some dogs go crazy and scratch things, but I know some of them get some kind of doggy marijuana or something and give it to them, so I don't know. I don't know. Anyways. All right, well, I think that's all I have. I appreciate you guys putting us on the agenda and you guys taking the time to come in. It's nice to put a face with everybody and realize that you're being considerate as much as you can.
Yeah,
So,
years ago, we had problems, and we
Yeah.
sat down and we drafted regulations and rules, and we tried to shorten it so that, you know,
Yeah.
it wasn't offensive to others, and we put it in the paper notifying those that want to get out of town for a couple
Right.
hours to
right.
go to Walmart and shop and be back, it'll be over, so, you know.
And so what should we do, them and you guys and us, as far as when we're having these people that probably aren't licensed to do this, and God only knows what they're blowing up. I don't know, you probably have a better idea than what I do, but what steps would you think? Just call the non-urgent police department and just say, hey, we know that, you know, it isn't a scheduled event. Can you send somebody out to check, or is that what you would suggest for
I would
them?
suggest that, and then you gotta give them more of an address. You just can't say, they're east of Benton here along the river.
Right. No, I get what you're
You
saying,
know,
yeah.
try to get
Try to
more
pinpoint it, yeah. I get what you're saying. Well, there's not that many areas on this side of the river that, I mean, there's, you know, 28th and then, you know, the 28th, you know, like, there's not that many, so.
Where are you from? Do you know Bob Bustler?
You don't know Bob Bustler. I'm like,
He's probably.
I'm the Crackleos live in our addition, and the Boraks. I live in, everybody knows it by that, the red A-frame, the old red A-frame cabin. It used to be a red A-frame.
I knew where Billy Coon used to live, but, you know, he sold that.
Him either. We're at the dead end, Soden Estates, I think is what it's called now. Yeah, Soden, I think is what they call it now. I mean, it's changed, or some people call it one thing and another. I've only been there a couple years, but.
But I know weekends when you get campers going, Denton City Park on the curve
Yeah,
of the
on the
river,
curve,
then
yeah.
there's a lot of noise coming from over that way, so.
Well, and even from the beaches, you can get it too, you know, so.
Can you do fireworks in a park, county park?
No,
I don't think so.
no, that I do know.
Legally, you can't.
What is, how is the law, you have to see them light it to do anything for the police? I mean, their hands are tied. If they don't see you light it, there ain't a thing they can do about it.
I don't know.
What you have in your pickup that you intend to light, they can't touch. What they see you light, they can, I think is the way.
That becomes a problem for her or her neighbors, because if law enforcement doesn't actually see it going on, you file a complaint, well, then you may have to see it through. Don't just tell the sheriff or deputy.
Right.
You know, you may end up in court.
Right. So be it.
She lived over like Lockhart's cabin.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
That's what I'm saying, is, you know.
Is it? I think that is the other name that people give for it. People will say to me, where do you live? And I'll be like, you know, yeah, and then I try to tell them, and then they'll be like, a lot of people knew about the red A-frame. It used to be a red A-frame, and we made it be a two-story. So, yeah, so it's like people will know it by that, you know, because it was the only red A-frame and that was out there, so, yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's it for me.
Okay.
All right, everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
And
Yep.
you do have our dates now.
Yes, I have down, yep. So we'll know, the one in April caught us off guard, so, but, yeah, definitely we
Yeah,
got.
you just put in the paper, they put it in the paper.
Yeah, we just got it, like, my husband just read it after the fact, so, but yeah.
If you want my phone number, if you hear fireworks, you can call, but I mean, if it's not a permit
Right, then it's not you.
time, it ain't us.
Yeah, no, we don't have to do that. I mean, I trust that you guys are being as respectful as you can possibly be, and you seem like very nice people, and it's
The only
not.
reason we would shoot late is if it was raining and we were forced to, otherwise, you know.
Yeah.
We
And
have,
we're really pretty easygoing too. It's just, you know, we have grandkids and the dogs, and then like the neighbors, and some of them, like I said, are in hover rounds and stuff, so they can't get out, you know, so.
we have people come from other states that are in our club, so if they can't come, from Illinois, they can't shoot anything in Illinois. So
Right.
they come out here to our club, with our club, and
Good. That's cool.
Well, hopefully you enjoy the beautiful.
No, we do. I mean, we do. We're just, you know, we're just not up late and stuff, and it's just, we were early, our jobs take us out early in the morning, so that's the biggest thing. But of course, we're off on the holidays too, so, anyway. All right, thank you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for taking the time to
You
come
bet,
in.
you bet,
All right, have a good afternoon.
Thanks, guys.
you bet. Good luck.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Is the sheriff coming in for his budget? Did we
I
make that?
texted him, he hasn't answered, but I forgot they're having that, crash thing at the high school. Where they're making a mock crash with the paramedics and all that out there.
Well, I know that their fuel fund is,
Yeah, I mean, I have the line items, him and I went over. I guess I'll talk on, he probably won't care.
Yeah.
So the one for sure, I know with the police officer that goes to that community, we had to up that one. We had to adjust the line items on some of them for his pay. The courthouse employees, he had to up that line item for the security. Fuel. So overall, I think his is gonna be like 65,000, because some of it I increased, some of it I decreased in other line items. And he could be fine, but we didn't want to risk it. Well, I was gonna budget amendment, we might as well try to adjust it.
Yeah.
So. Those were the big ticket items I thought.
well, these aren't really action items.
No, it's just
Yeah.
updating you guys,
Right,
when you guys
right.
approve the budget amendment is when you'll,
Right.
That's only technically for 2 months.
May 3rd. Well, a couple weeks, but I had to be, it was published.
Yeah, but it's only for 2 months.
Yep, so we just gotta get through June 30th.
That's a lot of money for 2 months, in addition. But
Well, some of those line items were in the negative already.
Yeah.
Overall, his bottom.
Yeah, he's behind.
But when you look at the whole budget overall, he's not. We're just moving spending authority between places.
And he may not need the
Right,
whole thing.
guesstimation is what we use.
Yep.
Auditors.
We already discussed
Yeah,
that.
We did
touched
that.
on
We already did
Yeah.
that.
Waiting for
You
another
said they
12
need
now.
700,000?
Well, for the WMA,
715.
because she's estimating an additional 425,000 than what we've already submitted for payment, because she's talking about those outstanding invoices. And they were already in the negative by 270, so I had to add the two together. Yeah. They had some turnover at Eastern Cog, we found out. That's why they were so behind in getting our stuff sent to the state for reimbursement, which I did just get one last week, big deposit.
But this
But
$700,000
overall, that's what I'm thinking, you might wanna make them waive their fees overall from Easy Cog. Because we're still paying them a big fee. And I had to do, Tracy witnessed one of the phone calls. I spent a lot of time going over detail versus detail and giving them the,
over the
check.
last umpteen years.
yeah, over the last year, but here in the last 2 weeks, it was like I was redoing everything, like giving them every detail about what check numbers when you guys approved it, they're getting audited by the IEDA. Because they wouldn't approve, they wouldn't approve the GACs that they submitted for us to get reimbursed until they proved this or that, because they knew they were in over what the original grant amount was for.
So the 715 is coming out of the county's pocket then?
Well, no, they're gonna have to try to get us to reimburse.
What happens if they don't?
I don't know. We are obligated right now
I
to pay
know,
that.
Yeah.
and see, this is a problem coming in on this Thursday, I have a meeting. That they're looking for somebody to do what you've been doing.
For future ones.
Yeah.
I would say, hell no. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not doing it. That, it was a lot of work. And I didn't get more pay. The county didn't get reimbursed for my extra duties either, so.
See, that's why I like EDCOG got paid, what, 5,000, that's like 5,000 a month.
But you see who was doing all the work. Basically, I was feeding it to them and they filled out the gaps. And they weren't obviously doing a good job.
Pretty good gig.
Maybe Adam knew better why he left us.
Do the work and send them money too.
And technically, I think we were allowed to send them for my admin cost. And that's not even,
Were allowed,
I thought that was a covered expense.
but you never invoiced.
Well, I mean, I think originally the board did not choose to do that. I mean, we use my office supplies when I'm making copies, and there's a lot of expenses that we're still eating as a county.
Well, I'm not gonna volunteer you Thursday.
Thank you. I think Jennifer already knows how I feel.
So what's the story with this Nick Thompson?
He called last week and got on the agenda,
Okay.
said he had talked to Mark. Come to find out yesterday, Mark said that was back in February.
Yeah,
So Mark got a hold of him and he's gonna go through Mark and he'll come present for.
so take that off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got it.
Again, like I said, when they call our office to get on the agenda, anybody has the right to get on the agenda. So.
Okay.
My neighbor is Nick Thompson.
That is?
Well, my neighbor is only 17.
Well,
Oh, so
I
it's a
think
different Nick.
this gentleman is in a subdevelopment already, so I think there was
Yeah.
other issues for that.
Well, we don't need this.
But since we got a little bit of time on the rest of them. Give the mic first. Give the board one of these.
We got 15.
That's
Give the board one
Yeah.
of these. I was trying to do some listening.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Up over here. Awesome.
Permit for Chuck here.
Yeah.
It was only, didn't we grant him for a couple days, is there more than one form?
Well, he said 3 times. I think there's probably more than
So there's
one.
3 forms then.
There should be
Okay. I'll have to ask him, because this was just for one.
for, the 2nd of April.
Yeah,
I think there's more.
okay.
Yeah, might as well walk down the hall. Feels good to get up.
are you doing?
Pretty good, how's Rick doing?
No complaints.
All right. Thank you, Haley, for doing this. This was interesting stuff. It contradicts itself right away, doesn't it?
Well, sometimes I try to do that for them, if you don't get it, you know.
Yeah, I would code is something I'm not, I don't have a lot of access to or
I
knowledge
usually
of.
do it, Google or ask for help.
Yeah.
It's like you're working out the end of the fall's coming along.
Tracy, how are you? Good. This, which supervisors have. That's really interesting.
Yeah, how are you?
Maybe you've already seen it.
Yeah, that's
Warming up out
under
there.
350.
Actually, it's,
Yeah.
it's not windy, so it feels like it's.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. how it
50 instead of-
contradicts itself.
Good, I have a soccer game tonight.
Paragraphs there.
Yeah, that's horrible weather for it. I don't look, I sit in the car a lot of times and watch.
I would deal with
Yeah.
40 mile an hour wind and 30 degrees.
Yesterday's required.
Yes. And then right there. This is what I've done up for and follow up.
Okay. Randy, you did it. That's good sideways for your.
A lot of segments.
I'm better at that, I think, actually.
Hey, Rick, how are you?
Doing well, and yourself?
Good.
So at any point at the, family, the pen itself be burnt?
Yes, and that's when we would, the conditions have to be just right. And the only way that we figured we'd do it is if, and we have permission,
The neighboring.
yeah, but we'd go onto his property where his bridge is there and start it on his and have a north wind and burn it.
Okay.
Yeah, all the way back. But we'd have to have that southern section already blackened and then.
Have you burned this morning already?
Yeah, he's, I.
Oh, it's all smoke.
I'm sorry,
It's all smoke and I smelled it,
Yeah. Rogers and the Fen right now, but the best day that we've had in weeks. Very much. Yeah, well, we're done, but you might just kind of get listed it, but yeah, Rogers is done right now. So.
Whatever even kind of excites me to burn, I don't know what it is, you know, when it like you started, like your stomach, because you know, especially a tall prairie, it
Yes.
starts whipping up and flames are 15 feet.
Yep.
Somebody was doing a controlled burn, was it last week over by Brandon, and out our picture window? It just was huge, it was really cool.
Yeah.
It's just been.
Surprised it too from your place.
Yeah, if you get the right conditions,
Yeah.
it really goes. And it's I always said a burn is like 3 hours of boredom and 15 minutes of sheer terror.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it just goes and goes and everything's going fine and all of a sudden it's not.
Yep. So I have to get those black lines.
Yeah. No, even if you have those.
I know.
Black
It'll
lines,
do.
you still burn that tree.
Yeah, and then 3 or 4 years ago, I had one jump
Well, the wind switched after I started it, so I started it by the road, I was gonna have it, and I went up to the top of the hill, and my mistake was I'm by myself. But by the time I got to the top of the hill, they started to back burn. The wind switched directions, and kicked to like 15, 20 miles an hour. And it comes flying across, jumps me in the path into another section. I'm trying to scramble with that, and then it jumps into my pine trees. And
I think she's
next
kicking
thing I
the
got,
tires.
2 pine trees are flying
Yeah,
out.
but you know, it's okay.
Yeah, I had a wind switch on ours too.
And then number 3.
And that not part of it.
That one's, that one is.
Well, it can be a little under the weather. There's been a lot more people over there.
Oh, there's a new one.
Well, they're helping out.
I don't know how often number 3 happens. You wonder how often number 3 happens. Yeah, she gets that.
Yeah. Look at that, number 3, like my state is living, we can do businesses. We implement.
Sylvia, I forgot to ask, how's your time go with Micah?
She met with them this morning.
Okay.
Again, so they have like, I think they're meeting every 2 weeks, and they have something set up, so they meet for an hour. And I think what we've kind of done is, in a sense, since Cece and Layla know so much, and they've done so much already, they're using part of that as her training them how to get specific things that she needs, and then she's on the back end doing what she needs to do to like finish the mapping, so. Yeah, it's like a perfect thing to kind of push things along too, because otherwise everything always gets pushed back, something else comes up, so this will make our maps happen a lot faster.
Something too, was she linked with our iVoters, for address library, make sure they're in the right precinct, it's another cross check for us.
Yeah.
Just wanted to kind of sit, like.
Right, that's the thing, and then, so it's kind of nice, because they were doing computer sharing today, and so they were walking back and forth, and so they could see, like, they were on the phone, doing computer sharing, had another computer, you know, and then they were just walking through everything, so, we can be sustainable in doing everything our own at the same time as she's doing, you know, doing her part, yeah, so it's nice. I think it'll be great. We're ready to have some good maps.
Yeah, with our new imagery now.
We need them for the public, yeah.
I think it'd be nice to show them like what lots, numbers on it.
Yes. And then they left that and went straight into her, so it's just,
yeah.
Fly tomorrow to a conference in Vegas. And yesterday lifted the restriction, it's just.
Yesterday they did?
Yeah.
It's just domestic travel, I'm guessing.
And some international,
So
but
they aren't making you wear the mask on the flights either?
no. So it was like, it just hit and went rampant. And like within 6 hours, I think all the major airlines dropped it, even including like some in-air pilots and
Hey, you guys
it just changed, so you're welcome to keep your mask on, but as of effective immediately, you're no longer required to wear a mask.
Public transit, same way.
Public transit's the same way.
Yep.
If they're still making them test out of the country to get back in. I haven't read that part, which I'm not going out of the country till March, so I should be safe.
Yeah, my daughter and husband just came back from Scotland 3 weeks ago, and it was a nightmare. Because test they did prior to leaving Scotland, the results weren't back yet, and they got to Dublin, and it was just, they had to go cut the flights, and it was just.
We had an employee who had to leave her husband and youngest son there for an extra week.
Well,
Yeah, 'cause they tested positive.
Yep, the little boy did, so, yep.
when there was 2 or 3 Cedar Rapids schools that had either band or choir or something going on in Ireland, same thing, several of the kids tested positive for COVID, so now you've got chaperones and all kinds of other issues that had to be dealt with.
Yeah, and it gets costly too, because then they have to pay out of their pocket for extra.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
If you could find places to stay, yeah.
And then rebooking those airplane tickets, which we really got.
Yeah.
Because no longer was that a airline's decision, so now you have to rebook at your own cost.
Okay, guys. We'll start.
Okay. So recently we've been, and we and all Shelby, we've tasked her with kind of doing some check on the properties that our Benton County Conservation Department is managing. And in a couple of the properties that we were kind of checking the history, we discovered that there were discrepancies in how those properties were titled. And so our board tasked Shelby then with kind of doing a review of all the properties that conservation manages at this stage. And what we found was a lot of different names that the properties were titled under. And so I guess we're coming to the 3 of you today to ask your support that we could title the properties that Benton County Conservation manages to show as Benton County Conservation properties. So the hope is that there's no questions that are raised in the future, 20 years from now, when people say, you know, we had this with the county home property on where it's titled. We've had this now at Atkins most recently. And so we just want to make sure that we are managing the properties the way we should, and that we know what we're asking the staff to do.
I've got the one at Lyman that had that undivided one interest.
Yeah, Benton County and private trust.
That trust, yeah.
Yeah, so Wyman's has been probably the one that's really jumped out recently. Was we discovered that, yeah, it's actually still under a trust yet.
I think that gentleman or the nephew of him had once come in and talked with their assessor, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
And in the notes, it stated that they were coming in because there was some turnover in estate things happening, and they wanted to know what this property was. And I think at that time, they requested that they just donate their portion to us. At that point, they said, we'll look into it, and they didn't, and they're continuing to pay taxes.
Was it at one time Larry was leaving that portion in taxation, right?
Yeah, they still pay taxes every year on that property. So it is equally owned, a private trust, and Benton County equally owns it. There's not like a divide or a line or anything, it's just equal ownership. So David Thompson did say that I could reach out to them, but when I talked to the assessor's office, they don't have any records of that phone number or email when they came in about 5 years ago. So I have to send them a letter just requesting that they reach out to me. So we'll see. But that one kind of made me a little nervous on the management side because it is private property too. So yeah.
Let's go start at your sheet that you got. Since you started at the back, we'll start at the back. And 25 and 24.
20?
Okay.
I got this printed on bigger paper if you prefer.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not like that much bigger, but it is bigger enough to where you notice.
I brought my glasses.
I noticed it the other day. I'm like, okay, here you can just scratch.
I don't have glasses, but I was.
So the gray is the same thing as the highlighted version.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is easier to read.
Okay, good. I tried to make it even a little bit bigger, and then I just I'm like, we gotta get outside to burn, so I just tried to, I gotta make this easier for people to read. Oh, I have another one. Is there? I guess I have extras.
So let's go 25 and 24. Evidently that's in Benton County and Benton County Conservation.
Yes, so 25 Vinegar, that wooded area that we have up there by the Mount Auburn boat ramp on Buchanan and Benton County Road. That one it's primarily Benton County Conservation, but there's a few random sections within the sections that just say Benton County. Like what? I'm not quite sure why it's all split up like that, but, yeah. That one is titled as both.
I guess what I wanted to do is go through each individual one, since we got a few minutes here for the next agenda here. To see what you guys actually do to maintain them.
So, Vinegar Wildlife, the Tobin Vinegar and Tobin Wildlife area, we have equestrian and multi-use trails there. We have river access with Mount Auburn boat ramp. Those kind of show, and Mount Auburn boat ramp is number 15. Those kind of overlap on Beacon now, and they didn't originally.
But I guess what I'm saying is, as for the deed and abstract, it says Benton County and Benton County Conservation.
It does not. It just says some parcels. All of these parts are multiple parcels. So if you look on the parcel number column, it's listed out. Those all say Benton County, and then the lower one says Benton County Conservation. So it's split up.
So 5 of them say Benton County.
Yes, and the biggest chunk says Benton County Conservation. I believe it's the biggest chunk. I guess I could have put acres next to all the parcels too, but
And I
it's a lot of
guess,
information.
have you got any records that go back to why it was divided out?
No, and so the information that I have through the files that I have. For instance, the one right above it that you had mentioned, 24, Wildcat, there's a parcel under Benton County, and then there's a parcel under Benton County Conservation. The one that's listed under Benton County is the campground, which doesn't make any sense, and I have copies of, for instance, people signing a petition to Benton County Conservation requesting that be developed for a campground. So I was like, why does it say Benton County? You know, just.
Sometimes a lot of these they were gifted over to the county too, and they might have just put Benton County on the title.
Yeah.
Do you actually have all the deeds on these two?
Yeah, so I have, I didn't go and pull all the deeds on what they had in the office there yet, because I just, before I did all of that and requested that from her, I wanted to see where the conversation was.
Some of these I have abstracts in my office on, but not all of them.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
So what's gonna be the difference? Are you not gonna maintain parcels that are Benton County only? Is that what you're getting at?
No, not necessarily. I think and probably Atkins Roundhouse is the most recent example where we've got the derecho damage that's flattened it. So as we're trying to look at what we do to move forward, that's where when this came up and we're looking going, well, it's actually a Benton County property. So what does conservation have? You know, how much jurisdiction does conservation have to really address the needs of that property itself? And so it's not that, I guess we just want to make sure that, you know, it seems like everything's just been a gentleman's agreement. It might even been just as simple as data entry when these were first filed, 20, 40, 60 years ago. We're just wanting to make sure there's clarity on the properties that conservation is managing, so if there ever is another derecho or there's some need that we have to look at funding or other pieces, we know exactly what conservation has the authority to do, so to speak. So. But yeah, but Atkins is a good discussion point, because that's one that shows under county. So at this point, it would need, the three of your direction as to what we do moving forward with that property, because Atkins themselves now the challenge we're in right now is Atkins residents that live in that community have approached Shelby to say, hey, we want to help clean up. But, we've got it closed because of the potential jamming, the widow haymakers and other things that are in that area.
And so if it said Benton County Conservation, you would say, okay, now you can come in and help clean up? Well, I guess I'm a little confused. What's the difference? I mean, conservation gets their funding from Benton County, correct? Okay.
Our general budget, yeah.
Yeah. And so if you're cleaning it up, it's the same pair of pants. Funding wise, if you run short in your fund, you're gonna come for a budget amendment, right? I guess I don't know what the urgency is of why worry about it.
It does complicate the management of how we proceed, and so if it is, titled in both entities, then we probably need some kind of management agreement just so that we all understand, what our role is in managing that particular property.
Wouldn't that be easier to have a management agreement rather than go through and change all the deeds?
I definitely don't think so on a lot of them, like the, for instance, Wildcat, the campground being in Benton County, but then.
And I'm sure there's some
There's some that just
exceptions to
don't
the
make
rule.
any sense, yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
So those are
like you're
ones-
talking, this has got scattered throughout the
Yeah,
big thing, and, I just don't know why. I mean, this is.
well, my understanding was it would be a pretty simple fix. And according to recorders and auditor's office that I talked to, it would be a relatively simple fix as long as there was an understanding between the county conservation board and board of supervisors of what we wanted to do for naming.
Okay.
That wouldn't be the complicated part. I guess right now is the complicated part of the conversation. But they said that they could definitely, I don't remember what they called it. But yeah, basically just a quick claim to update the name.
Did FEMA have a problem when they were going through some of that? I remember.
So that's when, I think that's another thing that got brought up was where do we move forward? Because our forester told us to basically bulldoze Atkins. It is not worth saving. And then that's when, the future of that property got brought up, and then it was, does Atkins want it? Does someone private want it? Where are we gonna go with that? And then we were told to stand down because we don't own it. So we stopped.
Yeah.
And now here we are.
Okay, so Atkins,
Mhm.
is the motive here that if you were to turn it over or sell it to the adjacent property owners, then Benton County Conservation would get any proceeds from that versus the county's general fund? I mean, is that the whole thoughts here? Or, I'm a little lost.
Well, and this is me speaking, but I mean, we're not looking at a land grab to sell property, but Atkins really doesn't fit any of our goals or needs. I mean, it's just a property that ended up on our plate.
Yeah.
As far as I know, only being here for a year, ended up on our plate that really, it doesn't fit into conservation at all. And so it's something that we would, prefer actually not to even have.
Well, I think you can say that with a lot of properties that, why it'd be easier if you didn't have to deal with it at all, period.
Right. And
conservation is for a wildlife preserve or something of that nature. I'm not a tree hugger, and I'm not, going that route, But yeah, I don't know what the big deal is, to be honest.
I think, yeah, just, you know, I'm obviously not in your shoes, but if it wasn't titled in Benton County and it was titled in conservation, any complaints that would come your way, you could simply refer and say, it's a Benton County.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You'd say, yep, you called the wrong place.
Well, sure. It shortens the conversation a little bit, Rick. I mean, probably not a whole bunch, but maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, well,
It does put the
you
responsibility
don't
on
get
the
to
board.
pass the buck much.
Not much, but
Yeah.
this would be one place where you could live.
Yeah.
I know, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, and I think probably, and I don't want it to get too focused just on Atkins alone, because I think Atkins, the big question there now is gonna be a major expense. If it is to be bulldozed, there's probably more value to the Atkins community than whether that's something similar to, the county home, the old animal shelter that was $1 lease for the veterans group. And that makes the group happy. So there's all kinds of options that can be looked at. But I think the fact that this has kind of uncovered what was the deal with Lyman's, that suddenly there's some liability on the county's behalf or conservation because there also wasn't insurance on the property. So this is, I guess, our request is to have it shown under conservation so we know clearly what we're managing, we're accountable for, and we're making sure that everything's up to date. More so that when the 7 of us aren't part of Benton County anymore, if somebody else goes back digging through this, that they say, yeah, this is a conservation property, conservation director, you're the one that we need some information on. And like we said, it's not a big time request from just changing the titles. It's not a lot of extra work to do that.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Dave Thompson isn't here.
Yeah, and we talked
Throwing in,
about it,
a few cents worth of
and he said
opinion.
he said he could do it, but he needs your guys' blessing since some of these are in your name, or parts of them are.
Well, I'm just wondering what's the pros and cons,
Sure.
and legally, you've already mentioned, insurance, and that's a good point. And
Oh.
if somebody gets hurt, they're not only going to sue Benton County Conservation, they're going to sue Benton County. I don't care if it's in your name or not, they're going to take.
Yeah, no, and Benton County Conservation owning it or having the name on it, it's still owned by the county.
It doesn't relieve us of any
No.
responsibility.
But then there's the confusion, speaking of the animal shelter or the VFW post, that is technically in Benton County's name, but then David helped us write up a lease agreement and they leased it from county conservation.
Because it was under the assumption that it was Benton County Conservation.
Right, so like that's what I mean.
I get it.
But it was gifted to Fish and Game or something like that years ago, so like it would be ours, you know what I mean? So there's just all these, it's just a lot of that.
Some of those deeds are restricted for the use of the property too, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, so,
I don't know about you guys, but I'd like to Thompson get his input.
and I did let him know we'd be here today talking about it, so.
I've talked to him
Happy
about
birthday, Mom.
but, well, he just said there's pros and cons. Like you're giving it all away, we won't have no control of it. You know what I mean?
But you would.
No.
The only way we'd have control is your funding.
Yes.
Right.
That's the only way. If the deed's in your name, you could sell it.
And not see any of the money, and you're not interested in selling it. I think that's something we need to lay on the table is that we're not interested in selling property.
No.
I guess what I wanted to go through, Shelby, is what I look at, what properties you actually have been maintaining and taking care of. To me, I look at the roundhouse, that's in my back door more or less. There hasn't been much done on that for years.
Right.
I'm trying not to go back to previous, understand?
Right.
You're the new one. But I'm looking at that, you haven't gone on your way to, the past You get me.
Yes. We're actually developing management plans for every single one of these,
Yeah.
and that was another reason. I don't want us to dive in and put all that out there and start having these management plans for all these properties and then be told, no, actually, we don't like what you're doing now, and it's technically in our name, so put plan in place.
And the ones I look at on the list here, you know, that, well, the Wildcat, we got evidently one or two of the properties, probably 240s in there. 140, I guess. Benton County's name on it.
Yeah.
You guys been taking care of it. I agree. That should be in your name. That's my personal opinion.
Same
I
with
can't talk for the other guys.
the Rogers campground.
Yes. The ones that you've definitely been maintaining probably should be in the conservation. But, you know, then I look at some of the smaller, I don't know, acre ones or something, you know, south of town here, there's one, towards Van Horn and all that.
Yeah.
You guys ain't done nothing there for a while, you know what I mean? Why do we wanna go to work and change the name of it? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Put it in your name when, we discussed this before, you know, off records, that, you know.
So then would it be, because it's my hope is that we do, like I said, develop management plans for all the properties, so not the 1 acre one, but who knows, another one, like Pangborn, we go in there and we start doing some selective harvest and we start managing it, then it makes it worth switching the title.
Well, and a good example is the Old Creamery Nature Trail, because I was involved firsthand with donating that, and that was donated specifically to the conservation director at that time, specifically to Conservation Board, but somehow it gets entered as Benton County. So
That should be changed.
and so those
I
are,
agree.
yeah.
You guys been maintaining that.
Yeah.
Well, does that mean they're not gonna maintain if it's in Benton counties only?
No,
I mean,
Well, because that's what we're, yeah.
and if she wants to go through and make management plans, knock yourself out, do it.
Right.
Because if we don't like something going on, we're gonna pull the plug on funding anyway.
Right.
If you're wanting to buy more ground or something, you know, conservation land, and you're looking for Benton County to fund it, we don't like it, we're not gonna fund it. Plain and simple. But, you know, what I'm kinda hearing is, well, I'm gonna do plans, but if I don't own it, we're not gonna do it.
No, we're working on plans for all of these.
Yeah, but you also said that you don't wanna get involved with it if it's not there, because we might change your mind, say, no, we don't agree with that, and, you know.
But again,
That's what I was hearing.
But I think
I don't think that's quite.
No, that's not-
Sorry.
that's not the intent the intent is to make a clear title designation so that, not as much today, but in the future, we're protecting the properties under the group that's managing it. Because we know what our relationship, everything works fine, but in the future, should there be a change and somebody comes in and says, well, I'm a county supervisor and I'd rather see that the Old Creamery Nature Trail convert back to farm ground, and it's under county's name, and conservation's been managing it all those years, there's nothing that would stop it in this portion. And that's, for me personally, I've spent a lot of time on the nature trail, and I want to see that under conservation's name, because that's exactly where it was donated 10, 12 years ago.
I know, I'd like to see Thompson.
We'll have a meeting with Dave and let him tell us more, these other guys, the pros and cons.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, and I don't mean to be the devil's advocate here. You know, they're managing it. It makes no sense that they don't have it under their name. But what is that the original intent of the person that donated it to the county? Do they want to donate it to conservation only or to Benton County? You know,
The areas that I see neglected and have seen neglected for 40 years are those properties. You know, my dad had one.
But I don't think they're listed here, are they?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't know which ones.
Oh, sorry, they're the 1 acre, so, number 5,
Okay.
number 8, 12, and I think that's it, actually.
I don't know about the other one. I couldn't find the other one.
Well, you've got one, well, that's the other show. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the other one, I don't,
So those are,
There's one
Old.
by Rogers Park.
Jackson.
I can't
Mhm.
find.
those are the old country schools. Okay.
Now, I don't know, well, it's over the hill now, but Dad owned a farm that had one of these on it years ago. And he waited 10 years after he owned the property, and then it went back to him. Because he put it in the paper, nobody said anything, so it went back to him. But it was being farmed the whole while.
Oh.
I mean, he was taking care of it.
Yeah, actually, one of them, number 5, the Big Grove Township Wildlife Area, it's not parceled out on Beacon at all. It shows it owned by the
Farmer.
farmer, yeah.
And some of these, the farmer's been taking care of, taking the trees off of his property, because the trees are hanging over on his property.
Yeah, Tracy and I just had that
For the
conversation.
last, well, 50 years, maybe more than that, because the trees were hanging over the property when I was a kid.
Mhm.
And the conservation department isn't really doing anything with them. They're there. Somebody can go hunting in them, I guess.
Yeah.
If they can get through it. Some of them maybe even have foundations in them from the school that was on the property
They do.
years ago.
Mhm.
I don't know if, in fact, you gave them to the farmer that he'd clean them up. Fill the hole.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and, you know, I don't know if this is something we want to do via a telephone call to Dave, or would you rather see him and, you know, reschedule this whole thing?
That's what I would say be the best bet.
Okay. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we just wanted to bring it up for you guys' discussion to think about and see what the best way to proceed forward that was beneficial to both of us, so.
Okay.
And there are some small properties on here that, you know, maybe the best thing is to, let it go back to the farmer or whatever, because, a 1 acre property doesn't have a lot of wildlife or conservation use, in the grand scheme of things, and maybe some of those individual properties need to be looked at and dealt with.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've been approached by the one near the nature center.
And they'd be willing to.
They'd be willing to purchase that acre, but again, because of titles and, that's the direction that we lack. It kind of gets back into that management aspect of how those are handled, so. And there could, you could break it out that those 1 acre parcels is something that, we work with you all to say, let's make a plan just for those 1 acre pieces and deal with that separately, would probably make the most sense.
I think we should get this on another meeting.
Is there anything you'd like to see from us before that meeting? Is there any clarification that we could provide to you that would be useful that you're lacking right now?
I don't have anything like that, but like Tuttle Wildlife, or whenever I got to be supervisor, I went, tried to look at all your properties.
Right.
And that one's out in the middle of the field.
Yes, it is. It has we have an easement along there.
Yeah. Now, I don't know. Obviously, Tuttle thought it was a good deal to give it to you guys.
Yeah, it was specifically for.
And I'm not saying that it's not a good thing to have. I have no idea. But I didn't go out and look at that one. I saw where it was, but I didn't actually go out in there and look at it.
He used to buy pheasants and quail from me when I raised them. That's kinda how that got to be.
Oh, nice.
There used to be a brewer house down there too,
Okay.
hard scale.
That's awesome.
So,
So how do you maintain a property like that?
With Tuttle?
Yeah, just picking on that one.
Yeah, so that one is primarily just timbered within a farm field, so it's bigger than the 1 acre plots, but, so the easement we don't maintain at all, that's the landowner. And then, simply, if possible, we would be doing burns and timber stand improvement, and it would be an ideal, just kind of little niche just out there, south of, I wanna say, Norway?
Yeah.
Yes. I mix up the ends all the
it's
time.
out in the field. It's
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere.
Yep, it is in the middle of nowhere, so then it would just be a prime habitat spot. I mean, when we've gone in there, I've been there twice, because that's one of the things that we started to do was visit every property so we could take pictures, we could look at it, ask questions, see what we want to change to start these management plans, which do take time, and now we're fully staffed, so. But that would be our goal, and it's kind of nice because then we get to know the neighboring landowners, because we have to let them know, like, hey, we're gonna do a burn, can we drive on your field,
Sure.
and all of that. But that one would primarily just be a wildlife spot. We've talked about at the 1 acre properties, if we were to develop them, making them kind of like a rest area, but they're just in such a, gravel road intersections. It's not like it's gonna be right off of 218 or a paved road, it's kind of hard in that aspect.
There is one,
Well, again, I, not to interrupt, but I personally think we just need to get this back on the agenda.
I guess I agree.
This week or next.
There's a 40-acre piece south of Shellsburg, east of Shells, west of Shellsburg. It's Penguin.
Yeah, Payport. And so it's 15 acres is what we own, but
Oh.
that one, got hit really bad by the derecho too. That was right in that line. And we were working with right before the derecho, we were working with the assessor on a property line issue. I remember that, about potentially somebody encroaching a little bit onto the public land. But, yes, so that one needs a timber stand improvement done on it. It's not a complete loss, like Atkins, it wasn't dubbed a complete loss, so that's good, but that one is a wildlife area for sure.
That's my recommendation. I'd like to get them in here, not just a phone call or have them call in, I just hear more. So, there's no urgency, obviously, been going on for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and we didn't expect an answer today anyway, and we just wanted to make sure that
Sure, bring it to light.
you're aware of what we were working on and
Okay.
to get your
Yeah,
feedback.
this is really great that you've done as much work as you have on it.
She did.
Well, it's
I don't know
just,
if it makes sense, but
it's been each time she's found one that she comes and like, oh my gosh, you won't believe what I just found here. So practice has been good, that it's uncovered information that's been missing that we realize needs to be addressed, but
and Cecilia, the conservation tech, started it. I just finished it, but because she's getting to know the properties, because her and Zach are the ones that started to work on the management plans. So it was her way of familiarizing.
Yeah. And anytime a property's owned with a trust and an undivided interest is just scarier than heck to me, so that's why we wanna kind of get that stuff clarified.
Yes.
Taken care of.
Have you sent a letter to that shared property?
So I wrote one that just like cut to the chase and said, I think, like, would you be willing to donate, whatnot. And then David Thompson asked me if they'd be donating it to county conservation or Benton County, and then I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna rewrite this, so I have not sent it yet. I am writing a letter just requesting them to contact me. So that way we can have a conversation. But that was another case in point, when they was saying, oh, wait, so then who do they donate it to, you know? And I'm like, yeah, part of the question, so.
Okay. And maybe prior to that next meeting, Shelby can just jot a few notes of what we're specifically doing to manage each of the properties, so it gives you an idea.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
obviously Rogers, you know, with the campground,
Campgrounds.
but some of these others that you know what actively is being done.
Do you want to do the next week?
I'll get with Dave Thompson, see when he could come in.
No.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you.
it looks pretty open right now. I would just say 10 tentatively. If that works.
Because
I'll kind of leave that open and you can let me know.
I think after that, schedules get kind of crazy for several weeks, so.
Why don't I pencil it in there for 10 right now?
Okay.
And then you can cancel it.
Sure. Do you want me to ask her? You guys can ask him.
I don't care.
Not me either.
I guess it'd be good if at least somebody from your department was there.
No,
No, I
maybe
meant-
who's asking Dave to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that we've, and he's probably watching.
I'll contact him.
So, yeah, all right, you'll contact him, make sure that he can show up.
Okay.
If he doesn't have a conflict. So,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it.
Myron, morning.
Last week's maps, represent, 20-page printout here, projects. I don't wanna go through these 20 pages over again, I think the map highlighted things. You did spark my interest in looking something up last week, Tracy, you asked about that bridge northwest of Atkins. And the bridge that I'm looking at was built 1959. And that has timber abutments under the concrete deck, which is what's causing the concern. 65 years old nearly, or would be about time we'll replace, supposedly replace it, because that exposed timber is deteriorating underneath. Which bridge you're thinking of, I'm not sure, I'm thinking it's not the same one.
Apparently not.
When you said 70s, and I'm like, would I be doing something in the 70s? I've got a few precast deck panels that are similar with timber abutments that have some concerns, but you might be able to reuse those sections and do something with the abutment. Just when you're probably limited in what you do, you know, why. But if there weren't any other questions, I guess, on the proposed projects for the next 5 years, I would just now ask for a motion for the DOT's 5-year segregated roads program, and I have the official certification sheet that I would have the chairman sign and the auditor sign.
I'll make a motion that we approve this 5-year plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And authorize the signatures. And by the way, Myron, happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah.
You get about your age, you try.
Just another day. Now, if you had told me 2 weeks ago that the wind wasn't gonna blow, the sun was gonna shine, and it wasn't gonna rain today, I should have taken the day off.
It's too cold to sit by your pool.
Well, it's not too cold to do other things that could be positively affected.
We had somebody come into the meeting earlier today about the detour around the intersection of 21 and 30. They're going around on the gravel.
They are, but I think the traffic's decreasing each and every day. Now, I say that, they didn't get Friday's report probably from the superintendent, but I think it was starting to decrease a little bit last week between Monday and Thursday. Friday morning, I drove the shortest detour routes, even drove on a couple of dirt roads around that intersection, and spent half hour, 45 minutes in that area before I headed to Ames for meeting. Never met one vehicle during my whole time on the north and south side of 30. So I feel confident in stating that myself, that I don't think the traffic has changed much. Now, granted, certain times of the day, I would bet that, kind of like school, you know, there are people going to work or other things, or might be, you know, a morning window and an afternoon window that's heavier, but between.
I think this gentleman indicated this past Sunday must have been 100 vehicles. That doesn't sound like it's school related or reduced.
I guess what we were kind of looking at, I was looking at, you draft up a resolution, a part-time resolution that we put a speed limit on it?
A temporary speed limit?
Like we did at Blairstown?
He said he can't see whatever it's out.
He thought the state was gonna oil the roads. So I don't know.
If traffic in, I think the DOT does a, observation assessment on their own type deal. The code administrative, I'm sure if it's in the code of Iowa or if it's in the administrative rules, when the DOT has a project on their system that impacts other systems, controlling dust is one thing that the DOT can participate in costing. Now, in all the rock that we put down on that before the intersection closed, anticipating a little bit heavier use, is nothing that we can get reimbursed with from the state. But dust control has a possibility. I know that a couple of years ago when
You did it south of me, Mile.
That, I was gonna say, I was also thinking when there was work being done on 151 between Fairfax and Manor, there was heavier traffic running up the Benton Road. And so they did participate in the dust control. County had to put the dust control down or hire somebody to do it, pay for it, and Secondary Roads got reimbursed for that expense. But,
I don't think there's anything you can do about it, but there's a sign that's down, so you must pull down yesterday.
there were a couple signs down from the DOT's project Friday when I think to look, because I was on 72nd Street Drive, 11th Avenue. 11th Avenue Drive, and 12th, is that right? I think on the north side of 30, and then on the south side, I was on 74th Street, actually drove up the dirt road north of the cemetery, and a couple others. Actually, I did drive all the way up to Alta's driveway and turn around at 21, but I did look at some of the signage on 21 South there, and then on the north end, I actually drove from the intersection all the way south to the fence closure for the intersection project, turn around and then work my way back. And so I've been between, I don't know, 6:30 and 7:30-ish time frame that I was there Friday morning. Like I said, I never encountered any vehicle anywhere between there.
I guess if you could draft up a resolution, part-time, or whatever you wanna call it, not a temporary.
Mhm.
You know, and then we can get.
Sheriff's gonna have to be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
And motor vehicle enforcement has been in the area, but as long as everybody's running legal loads, even with
Mhm.
larger trucks, there's
Mhm.
nothing that's prohibiting that at this point, you know. The spring word start changing more, like I said, there's no says that we could do a temporary embargo also. But at this point, I don't know if those roads are in any worse condition than other roads in the county. And with the temporary embargo, you're still gonna have to go up and signage up. And
Yeah.
it's gonna be true with the speed limit if you're going to do that, but
I just put the signs up.
But I do believe that probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when that intersection first got closed, that the traffic has
Mhm.
changed during the work week at least. Now, I don't know, you're still encountering some weekend travel that haven't encountered those closure signs, but I do feel the traffic from our perspective is diminishing now. It might
He
be
mentioned
very
on-
slowly, but
He mentioned on the way up here today that, road closure sign, the barricade, I seen it Friday night at, Elbron intersection there. Friday night it was up when I went by.
Was that the one that says local traffic only?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was down Friday morning,
Well, it was up Friday,
so they may have gotten it before I got it.
6:30. It was up then, but he said it was down this morning. Well, with the wind yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, what else you got?
I'll give you this 3-page document. just 'cause it's only 3 pages. Thank you. Take too long to go over this real quick. In addition to the 5-year plan, the DOT has a budget that needs to be submitted in April. Budget sheet's kind of very similar to our county budget with past 2 years, current year, and future year, that we do in future year. Just run over a couple highlights on each of the 2 pages. If you're looking at page 2, which is actually the receipts page, unless you change something from what I submitted, I remember we talked about it last month, that from a property tax standpoint, the second, if you want to call it the second row or not, $3,374,745 in local property tax, $273,992 comes out of general basic, and $3,100,753 comes out of the rural basic. Couple more lines down, 3B, you'll see $30,760.33, which is relates to Senate File 451, farm market extensions in cities less than or equal to a population of 500. You look at the previous 2 columns, you see that number's up $13,000. That's because the city of Norway's official census was under 500, so July 1, you become the jurisdiction for those extensions for the town. Norway has been provided a copy of the 28E agreement that the county has with the city of Garrison, where the road use tax money that the county receives for maintenance activities on the roads. The city of Garrison said we will take care of them, and we asked to have the money returned to us. And I think Norway wants to come to you and ask that same proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the rest of the items on that sheet are receipts, and some of it's a little updated from what we did back in, what I submitted back in December, January, just because it's now April, and either I received them or I have more information on moving forward, or knowing that stuff for this report, because bridge replacement funds are gonna change a little bit moving forward, and they did a few years back and actually have 2 lines in there for that. It depends on whether it came with that swap money, that SWAP, or if it's straight federal aid. It just needs to be separated. But, otherwise, for the most part, I think that sheet is pretty self-explanatory, and like you mentioned just a moment ago, I think it pretty much mirrors your revenue receipt information that you look at with secondary revenue budget. Anyone have any questions on any line item or? And then the last page happens to be the actual expenditure page. As I think I mentioned, I have in the past, I think I mentioned it here again recently, DOT looks at net difference as opposed to total expenditures, and total receipts when it falls into a category. Actually, the first 2 lines with administration and engineering expenses really doesn't change. There isn't enough reimbursements received for either one of those functions that the county's expenditure and the DOT's are virtually the same. The same would be true for the next big one, which is construction. But when you start getting into roadway maintenance, the second of those 5 listed for roads, like right now with residents that sign up for these secondary roads, MC70 dust control, that turns into a reimbursement back to secondary roads for that service product. So there's $170,000 that this budget shows less than what the county secondary road items for those areas. The next item for snow and ice control, I have half a dozen communities that come by our sand and salt mix, so it gets reimbursed to us from there. That amounts to about $12,000 a year. So the total roadway maintenance area there, if you would add up the same items on a county budget, would be less on this sheet a little bit because of those payments that we receive for some of those services we do. The last grouping down there under general roadway, the second one, equipment operations. You got a few county departments that buy fuel for secondary roads, so there's about $10,000 that we receive from those departments that buy fuel for us. And then under tools, materials, and supplies, which is the third of those 4 groups, that includes metal pipes that are put in driveways that we install and property owner pays for. So right now to date, with this current year, it's about $80,000 worth of payments that we receive for metal pipe that we put in for rural property owners to install new driveways, modify existing ones. And so you get about $90,000 in total general roadway expenses that are less on this sheet than you have on the county budget sheet that is submitted. Looking everything over, looking at this, if some of the reimbursements for some of the federal, state, regional grants that are out there, FEMA, the bridge replacement, if all of those projects are done and get back returned for reimbursements at the end of next year, I was double checking things, I didn't miss anything, and I don't know how things worked out on the other thing. I'm looking at this second road, I got about a $3.7 million balance at the end of fiscal year 23. If there aren't any questions, I would take a motion to accept that budget.
We got one question. First page, 5A, the swamp bridge replacement, $640,000. Is that for the specified for Shelburne Bridge?
It would be the project cost on multiple bridges. bridges that the bids are being opened for today. Basically the intersection of 32nd Avenue and 75th Street, north of Becker's old junkyard. The cost of that would be one of the figures in there. We are developing plans for the Pony Trust West Henry's Welding, which is north of town, would be in there. And then there's still some outstanding reimbursements for the box culvert that was built over by Ken Groff's. There's about 10,000 yet to come back on that one. A couple other projects from last year. But that is where I came up with those numbers for that now. I think, yeah, and that, everything that gets left through the DOT this year that through December letting, still utilize that swap funding. Anything that we don't have developed until bids or to be bid on until January of next year moving forward is going to need to be federal aid and will show up on the line above that for reimbursement now. Outside of needing to do some of the administration a little bit differently, those projects that are off-system roadway designations are still going to be funded at 100%. Those that fall in the farm market system, there will be 80% federal aid and 20% farm market use.
Okay. So I'll take a motion from one of you guys, we approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
If you don't want it, I'll take it. If you want to keep it, you can have it.
I don't want to do it.
If you want it, I'll keep it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you gotta do it too. Well, guys, I think that's it.
We'll get you to your reading timer.
And I would second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Gary first and then